තස්සා භගවතෝ අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්සා නමෝ තස්සා භගවතෝ අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්සා නමෝ තස්සා භගවතෝ අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්සා.
Good afternoon, everyone. So today we are continuing with the lecture series of Patisambhida, Path to Patisambhida. So I think I shared a handout in the last moment. So far we have done an introduction to the Patisambhida jnanas, and then we moved on to discuss each jnana from the beginning, starting from the Suttamaya jnana, the wisdom about learnedness. Then we moved on to talk about the wisdom associated with the virtue, Silamaya jnana, and then the third one, wisdom associated in meditation, especially while attaining absorption, access and absorption concentrations. That was called Samadhi Bhavanamaya jnana. Today's topic is Paccaya Parigraha jnana, that is the wisdom associated or wisdom which analyzes and determines the causes and the conditions of the realities. Now, this is the moment where these wisdoms move to the Vipassana side. The previous three wisdoms, the first one was related to the knowledge or the wisdom we gain through scriptural studies, especially through listening and also by reading and while we do academic stuff. Then related to Dhamma especially. Then the second wisdom is the application of that knowledge into practice by modifying or regulating our behavior. That can be said as the first step towards spirituality, because one starts to adopt the philosophy or the Dhamma that one had learned and try to adhere to the rules and the ethics that one has studied. So he or she starts to live a virtuous life full of ethics without harming others, and also doing things that does not suit his or her lifestyle. Especially when you become a monk, the code of conduct is very huge and very extensive, which are allowable for other lay people, but only restricted for the monks. So then when we move on, after adopting this lifestyle, while one practices and tries to live a virtuous life, there's a wisdom element involved in it. And that's called Silamaya jnana. Then based on the sila or the virtue one is developing or one is living in, one can develop concentration by practicing any of the tranquility meditation subjects explained in the teachings. We have 40 such subjects focusing on 38 objects, and one can develop the concentration. And when it reaches the heights of access concentration, upachara samadhi, and the concentration of absorption or the absorption concentration, arpana samadhi, appana samadhi, the mind becomes well stable and the hindrances would go down. At that time, the wisdom which is associating those concentrations are called samadhi bhavanamaya jnana. Then a person who has gained some concentration should, in the Buddhist dispensation, in other dispensations that could be the final, in some dispensations that could be the final end task. But in some dispensations, such as the Niganta's practice, that Mahavihara's practice, they do have some other, I'm not sure whether they have some higher samadhi practices, they must have, but they also get involved in tormenting their body and exhausting their past karma. So various traditions and religions may follow different modes in their advanced spiritual progress, spiritual activities. But when it comes to Buddhism, one cannot be satisfied only by achieving a concentration, either excess or absorption. Even one has reached the heights of jhana, such as the immaterial concentrations, which are called arupa bhavanas. Still, one cannot be fully considered to have escaped from the suffering of samsara. So therefore, he has to strive another step forward, and that step is called vipassana meditation. So in these 37 wisdoms that we are discussing step by step, one after another, this is the place where the vipassana is firstly introduced, and that is the wisdom of analyzing and determining the causes, analyzing and determining the causes of the conditioned realities. But if someone is familiar with vipassana or someone has studied vipassana meditation, he must be wondering, why isn't that the discerning of nama and rupa, or the or understanding or analyzing mind and matter, isn't it the first stage in vipassana meditation? It is truly, it is the first stage, because without that stage, any other stage wouldn't be that much. It would be infertile, wouldn't give much results, and would you not be able to progress very steadfastly. But still, in the Patisambhida Magga, the first stage of vipassana has been introduced as the Paccaya Pariggaha Jnana, or the Dhammaṭṭhiti Jnana, which involves contemplation or determining the causes. And we are going to discuss about it in detail in the today's lecture. I hope you got the handout. Actually, the number should be 4, it's not 1. I think when I'm copying it into another paper, I couldn't change the number. Number 4, Paccaya Pariggahe Paññā Dhammaṭṭhiti Jnana. While practicing vipassana meditation, in the second stage, a yogi is supposed to analyze and determine the causes of the conditioned realities. The wisdom which does so is called Paccaya Pariggahe Paññā. So here we have to understand the two things. First is the cause, C is cause, and the effect, or the result. According to Theravada teachings, cause and effect are never the same reality. Unlike in some Hindu doctrines, which says that the cause and the effect could be the same thing, like milk of a cow turns into curd. There's no new substance arising. It's just a transformation of the one thing into another state. And as it has been explained in Upanishad, that the cause of the entire universe or the living beings is a mother soul, that everything is an outcome or offshoot of that soul, and understanding that reality would be the liberation. In Buddhism, cause and effect are two different realities. When the cause is present, effect arises. And sometimes the effect continues to exist in generations. So cause is necessary for the effect to come into the existence from non-existence, and then for the cause to exist in generation. Not the same cause to prevail without passing away, because Theravada Buddhism emphasizes on the momentariness. Therefore, this one cause is not prevailing the whole time. It always, every reality which one effect is not prevailing for the whole time. Every reality which arises, comes into existence due to causes, it passes away immediately. And if the causes, similar causes happen to be there, and causes are also rising and falling, but if they happen to be there, the passing away reality, the effect reality, will be replaced by another similar effect. Like, so we call the generation would continue to exist. Right? It would continue to exist. So in this way, cause and effect are two realities according to Theravada teachings, and when the cause is existing, when the cause is there, effect starts to arise, and also they continue to exist in generations. And the wisdom which understands each cause. Now, if this is the body, if this is the matter, or this is, for example, matter, for instance, since body is a conventional word, one can get confused with that. If this is the matter, The yogi has to analyze and determine and come into a conclusion that what are the causes of this matter. Obvious idea that prevails in the world is that this matter or the body is created by a god, or this was a outcome of a certain incident we call the Big Bang, for instance, and it happened from nothingness. Everything came out, sprung out from the nothingness. So, 𝐴 𝐻𝐿𝐿, nothingness, right? Nothingness. So these two would be the obvious extremes according to the teachings. Without going into them, God or the nothingness, 𝐴 𝐻𝐿𝐿, Buddhism emphasizes on a cause, and that can be another. For example, God's theory is also considered as 𝑉ෂම හේතු, like adhering to or believing in a irrelevant cause, which is not the actual cause of the effect. But in Buddhism, we are talking about the Samma Hetu, which is the relevant cause of the matter. So in Vipassana meditation, one is supposed to understand and determine and come into a conclusion that this matter is produced by these causes. In Buddhism, in Theravada teachings, we have 4 causes for matter. One is the karma, one is the consciousness, another is the element of heat, the 𝐷𝐽𝐸, heat or coldness, 𝐷𝐽𝐸 dhatu, and the element of nutriment, ojha. So these are the 4 causes that produce the effects of matter. Then when if this effect is a consciousness or a mentality, the most relevant most relevant cause is the previous mentality that has arisen in the same mind stream. Because consciousness arises as a outshoot of the previous consciousness, because the conscious process exists to prevail. Whenever consciousness passes away, a new consciousness arises from the speed of the previous consciousness. That's how it has been explained in some books, that the momentum-like speed which exists in the previous consciousness causes the arising of a new consciousness. So likewise, a yogi is supposed to analyze the main causes of mind and matter or the conditioned reality, and that is done with a wisdom, and that wisdom which analyzes this cause in relation to this effect. Analyzing this cause in relation to, actually what happens is he observes the cause and he understands the effect. That's what is happening. He's not directly observing the cause. Actually, he first understands the effect and then understands what is the relevant cause of this. So this wisdom is called paccaya pariggahe jnana. Paccaya pariggahe jnanam. The wisdom which analyzes and determines the causes. Determining is he comes into a conclusion that these are the real causes of this effect. Now we have to analyze each word. Paccaya, pariggaha, jnana it has already been explained in the first lesson with all the details. So in simple terms, this is the wisdom. Here paccaya means the cause, condition. A cause is called paccaya since the result or the phala or the effect arises and continues to exist in generations due to it. That's what we showed. Now a cause, phala arises due to a cause and continues to exist in generations due to this cause. There is something called a momentary existence. Momentary existence is also related to causes in one way, but they are not related to the main cause normally, because there are 5 main causes in our tradition. They are the 4 causes, main causes of rupa and the previous consciousness or the mental cluster for the following mental cluster. Every consciousness and mental concomitant or chetasika, chittas, chetasikas arise as an outcome of the previous cluster of mentalities, which is called chittupada. And whenever a rupa arises, either due to karma, chitta, utu or ahara, that means the karma, consciousness, element of tejo or element of nutriment, whenever they arises, they exist for a certain period and vanishes. The newly arisen rupa and the newly arisen chitta exists momentarily and vanishes. The obvious question arises is, do the main causes, do they play a significant role in the existence or the decaying or the vanishing of those realities? As Paramattha Dipani has stated, those main causes are not relevant for the existence or the momentary existence and obviously to the vanishing of the reality. You don't need any cause for the vanishing because that is happening under a natural law. If something has arisen, it will be affected by the law of decaying, which we call the jara, and then naturally it would loses its stamina or the ability to exist and finally vanishes into the non-existence. Then during his persisting or the existing period between the genesis and the vanishing, does it need the support of some causes? Yes, it needs the support of the coexisting causes, that are the sahajata pachayas. For example, when a material cluster has arisen due to past karma doesn't play a role, doesn't play a role for its existing phase. It is normally existing based on their mutual support at the moment of existence. So causes are relevant for momentary existence, but the main causes do not play a much role in this existing and vanishing. Vanishing, you don't need any cause actually. Even during the existing phase, the main causes do not produce, because main cause is always outside the result. Because rupas are produced as material clusters, and all the four major causes are apart from the material cluster. Karma was something done in the past lives. Consciousness is an immaterial thing. Based on dualism, it is a different element. Then Tejo Dhatu is found in a different material cluster, and the nutriment, the Oja, is also found in a different material cluster. So then regarding the mental clusters, consciousness and the mental concomitance which arises is supported by the previous cluster, which has its own existence. So even though they are related, they are two different entities. Therefore, all the main causes are out of the cluster of the result, because no result arises alone. Every result is having a coexistence. They are arising in clusters. They are always mutually or actually getting support, not mutually in all the sense, but in most of the cases, obviously they are getting the support from the co-arising reality. There's no reality that cannot arise or withstand by itself. Then, so therefore, during this momentary phase, for example, if a Rupa Kalapa has arisen, it stays for a while and it vanishes. During this momentary existence, the Rupas within that cluster is supporting each other. We cannot deny that fact. What the Paramattha is saying is, if the outer cause, for example, Kamma, Chitta, Utto, Ahara, which are apart from this reality, doesn't play a role for this existing phase, the momentary existing phase. But for the reality to continue in generations, that's what I have mentioned, continue in generation, it means that a Rupa Kalapa arises, vanishes, another Rupa Kalapa arises, vanishes. So we see a generation. In a generation, we have various new realities replacing the other. New realities are replacing the other. So as long as the causes are prevailing, the reality will continue to exist. For instance, the karma, the previous karma, as long as the previous karma is present, the mind stream would exist. And also we have to say, karma also plays a huge role in the mind stream, other than the previous consciousness. Karma also plays a role, because every life is starting from a Patisandhi Chitta and a Bhavanga Chitta, and then the Vichittas are outcomes of this Bhavanga Chitta. So karma plays a huge role in creating the platform where the consciousness exists. So therefore, now for the momentary existence, the previous consciousness doesn't play a role, but for the karma in that sense has a role, and the object, for example, has a role for the consciousness to exist in generations. But when it comes to the rupa, obviously these causes, as long as these causes prevail, the rupas would be, whenever they pass away, they would be replaced by new rupas, and the generation continues. Therefore, causes are mainly required for the arising and also for the continuation in generations. And someone argues, yes, obviously for the momentary existence also causes are necessary, but we don't much emphasize on that. we are while we are studying in traditional way, we mostly emphasize the support given by the causes for the genesis and also for the continuation of continue in generations, and also for the growth. That's another point, for the growth. For instance, by associating the relevant causes, supportive causes, you can increase the strength of certain realities such as concentration, wisdom, virtue can be strengthened, and their force and ability can be increased, their capacity can be enlarged. So here Pachya means the cause. A cause is called Pachya since the result arises and continues to exist in generations due to it. It means the result can neither arise nor continue to exist in generations without the cause. A conditioned reality cannot arise or continue to exist in generation without its cause. So, the second line, what I wanted to mention is the result arises and continue to exist without abandoning the cause. That's what I wanted to mention. I have repeated the sentence. So the result does not abandon the cause. Always the result and the cause have a relationship. It doesn't arise without it. Without it means it is not abandoning it. It doesn't mean that the cause has to exist and the moment while the result is arising. The best example is the karma. Karma was done long time before and the result is arising. It obviously the karma energy, the force would remain at that time, but still as a reality it is not existing as a reality. It exists in the sense of a paramatta jatika. But therefore, but even in that occasion, we normally say the effect is, if it is supported by the cause, if an effect is supported by the cause, that means it is not abandoning it. It is not arising without it. It's always having that support. That's what is mentioned in this Pali sentence. Paticca palameteti pacchayo paticchati na vinatena apachakkittvati atto. Without it, without abandoning it, without being without it, so it always exists with the effect, with the cause, with the support of the cause, under the support of the cause. Eteti uppajjati cheva pavattati chati atto. So these are just grammatical terms. How the word pachya is made out of the root e to come, but here come means uppajjati, arising or existing, right, in generations, as I said. The characteristics of cause is its nature of helping or assisting. The pachya means something that helps. Helps who? Helps the effect. Helps the effect for the arising and for the existing in generations. There are various causes for the arising and existence of various realities. Therefore, in meditation, one needs to examine them and determine this is the cause of matter and this is the cause of mind, especially when we are contemplating paticca and so forth and so on. The mental act of understanding and determining the cause is called pariggaha. So this is the enter. Now the board is messy. I'll go to a new page. Now this is the cause, and due to this cause, effect arises and exists in generations. Now a support is given, cause is supporting. One analyzes, he sees the effect and understands what is the cause of this effect and analyzes that this is the cause. Now if this is BA, B is the cause. So he understands, not C, not the C. C is not the cause, B is the cause. So he determines what is the actual cause. It's not a God, it's not something else. This is the internal causes of the same life or from the previous life. So this analysis, knowing it and determining and coming into a conclusion that this is the actual cause, that act is called pariggaha. It takes pariggaha. It takes from the wisdom. It takes takes from all around and understands about this cause. Right. The meaning has been given as vavattapana. It's determining. So another place where vavattapana comes is vottapana. In vottapana. So it's called pariggaha. The wisdom which analyzes and determines the cause of each conditioned reality is called paccaya pariggahe jnana. So because there are various causes, you have to analyze, you have to determine, you have to discern, investigate, whatever terminology you can use for that. Now we shall analyze the phrase Dhammaṭṭhiti Jnana. So what we were talking, I couldn't write the topic actually. Sorry for that. Pacce pariggahe panya, paccaya pariggahe panya, Dhammaṭṭhiti Jnanam. Now this has been explained. Panya, wisdom, we know that. That is, yeah, we already explained about it. Pacce pariggaha is the analyzing and determining the causes. Then Dhammaṭṭhiti. So these are same. Pacce pariggaha jnana is equal to Dhammaṭṭhiti jnana. It's a repetition going on. Then Dhammaṭṭhiti, we have three phases, three morphemes here. One is Dhamma, second is Titi, and third is Jnana. Jnana is wisdom, we don't need to explain that. What is Dhamma and what is Titi? Titi here means the cause again. Dhamma means the effect. Effect. Cause of effects. Cause of effects. Here effects means Paccayuppanna, effect made out of causes. So if we analyze and explain the terminologies in their meaning, that would be the same thing in the end. We say causes of the effects produced by the causes. Seems very absurd when we translate it in this way. So anyway, now we shall analyze the phrase Dhammaṭṭhiti Jnana. It is constructed with the three morphemes Dhamma, Titi and Jnana. Out of them the term Jnana has already been explained. In this context, Dhamma means any conditioned reality known as a Paccayuppanna. Dhamma is a Paccayuppanna. Paccayuppanna. Paccaya plus Uppanna. Uppanna is something that has arisen. Paccaya is cause, due to cause. Conditioned realities. Conditioned realities. Dhamma means the conditioned realities. In the context, Dhamma means the conditioned reality known as Paccayuppanna. Those are the mind and matter. The morpheme Titi signifies the cause or condition. A cause is called Titi as conditioned realities, Paccayuppannas or the Dhammas, exist due to it. So here existence means Tittati. Tittati normally it signifies standing, but another meaning is existing, right? Existing. Tittati. It comes from the root tha. There's a philological influence, why it became Tittati. Anyway, so it's tha, to stand, to exist, So Paccayuppannas exist. From tha, Tittati is derived and also Titi is derived. Titi. Right? Exists. So it exists. Why the cause is called in is not because the cause is existing. The conditioned reality exists because of it. So these are technical grammatical points. How to now Pali in Pali. If what is meant here is cause is the reason for the existence or titi of another reality. Therefore, the cause itself is called titi. Cause itself is called titi. Right? So just understand that that's the way of constructing names or giving terming terms in Pali. Such methods are used very often. Then I'll repeat again. A cause is called titi as conditioned realities exist due to it. Here existing means again arising and prevailing in generations. Uppajjana and pavattana. Uppajjati pavattati. Right? When the two, so it means the same. So conditioned realities arises and exist in generation because of cause. That's what we have already studied. When the two words are compounded as Dhammaṭṭhiti, it signifies the cause of conditioned realities. Therefore, Dhammaṭṭhiti means Paccaya, in other words. Dhammaṭṭhiti means Paccaya. Paccaya is the cause. And Dhammaṭṭhiti signifies that conditioned realities exist in generation or arise or exist in generation due to the cause. And the wisdom which knows this Dhammattiti, wisdom which analyzes and understands the Dhammattiti or the cause, is called Dhammattiti Jnana. It's equal to Paccaya Parigrahe Jnana. The word Dhamma is constructed as follows. Attano Paccehi Dharyanti iti Dhamma. The reality that is being made to exist by its causes is called Dhamma. That's how the word formation comes for the word Dhamma. Titi has already been explained. A yogi who has attained, now what does it mean? Now remember, we are in the fourth wisdom. First wisdom was Sutamaye Jnana. Sutamaye Jnanam. Then the second was Silamaye Jnana. Third, Samadhi Bhavanamaye Jnana. The fourth is Dhammattiti Jnana. Dhammattiti Jnana. A person who has gained the relevant knowledge establishes himself or herself in a sila, a virtue, then develops concentration. And in all these three stages, wisdom is involved. It shows that Buddhism is a doctrine or a philosophy or a mode of life, whatever it is you call, is always involved, is connected with wisdom. From the very beginning, from the moment of understanding, the element of wisdom is involved. And nothing to say about reaching the heights or the final liberation or the goal. And because it shows in each and every step, even while you are adopting a sila, wisdom is required. Because it's done with understanding why I am restraining, why I am following this sila, what are the benefits of sila, what are the disadvantages of sila. So everything, at least to some level, one should be aware of it. Then concentration. As I explained that day, the wisdom associated in the concentration, distance yourself from the sensuality, and it also dispels the delusion which covers or hinders the disadvantage or the dangers of sensuality. So wisdom is involved in tranquility meditation as well. Then one who has developed to this level and gained some sort of concentration is now, I would say, eligible or is now suitable to start into vipassana. You should have at least some degree of concentration. Sometimes we do start vipassana as from the very beginning as raw vipassana or dry vipassana practitioners. Even for their vipassana to grow, at least to discern nama and rupa, to understand what is nama and rupa, they should have some sort of concentration. Without concentration, you cannot do vipassana at all. It's impossible. But it doesn't mean that you have to have practiced samatha meditation for that. That's not compulsory, but it is very highly recommended. Very highly recommended that normally we develop some concentration in tranquility meditation before we go into vipassana practice. That is the normal advice given. But still, you can start dry vipassana without tranquility meditation. But still, even to reach to at least to the very basic level of vipassana, some concentration must be there. Without the ability to focus on one object very thoroughly, one would not be able to gain any insight. Now, after someone has gained some concentration, he's entering into the vipassana practice in the Buddhist dispensation. So, in this level, in this part, there is an intermediate stage that has not been explained here. What is the intermediate stage that comes between the samadhi and the Dhammattiti Jnana? Because it is involved in analyzing the conditions or causes, one should know nama and rupa, all the conditioned realities in the first place. Because even though we don't use the words conditioned realities, one should know what is existing in the first place. That's the mind and matter. Mind and matter. We normally call nama and rupa. And one has to get rid of the self-view in the very first place. In my opinion, actually that is a very basic fundamental, without overcoming this self-view by discerning nama and rupa, at least into the level of 2 elements, mind and matter, or maybe as 5 aggregates, or 12 bases, 18 elements, 19 faculties, leaving apart the 3 supramundane ones. So, or 2 noble truths, the dukkha and samudaya. So, whatever approach is taken, one has to discern mind and matter and suppress this self-view in the first place. Only then the vipassana can be started, and that would act as the basis for the vipassana meditation. It would act as the basis for the vipassana meditation. So, in this regard, why it is necessary? In my opinion, it's very difficult to progress in vipassana practice without getting rid of the concept of self in the first place. Concept of self, that a person is existing in this place. One has to know that it's just mind and matter. There's no person called I or self in this place where conventionally we call I myself. Because in my opinion, this object is very appealing. It's the most attractive object in the world. That's myself or I. It's the most attractive one. We may be attractive to some other people, and sometimes we may keep them in a pedestal and consider them as higher to us or superior to us. We may start loving them excessively, but still, when it comes to the actual fundamental level of love or affection, everyone is attached to oneself more than anyone else. That's even applicable to the Bodhisattva, who is sacrificing his entire life for the sake of, for a longer period, for the sake of other living beings. Still, the affection towards the self is paramount. It's above everything. He is capable to discard it or to disregard it and to put himself into very adverse conditions, to send him through very adverse processes in order to develop his qualities to serve the others. But still, the attachment to self can never be removed. And we can see the outshoots of such affection even in an arahant's mind, because when we discuss patthana, it is mentioned that there are certain objects that we respect very well. That's called 𝐴𝐵𝐴 ārammanaṁ karoti. We pay more respect or more attention. We give some sort of admiration to certain objects. And when it comes to an arahant, they admire nibbana more than anything else. And then the next thing they admire is the noble path of arahanthood and the noble fruition, that is arahatta magga and phala. And that's also of their own, not even that of the Buddha, who is the basis, who is the main reason for this entire process, entire dispensation of liberation. Even they do not admire the Buddha's mind, arahatta magga and phala, in the level that they do their own, not of another arahant even. So that shows that the concern for self, that your own liberation matters to everyone more than anything. Therefore, I personally feel this idea of I or self is very appealing and very attractive. So one would never be able to reach heights in vipassana meditation without diluting this idea by discerning mind and matter, what is actually there representing this self. It's mind and matter which manifest as a self. It's not that mind and matter become a self by conjunction or by coming together. It manifests as a self, and we are deluded by its appearance. So one has to first discern these two elements and get rid of the self view before progressing into the meditation practice of discerning the cause and effects, conditioned realities, dependent origination, knowing the rising and falling, contemplating the three characteristics, universal characteristics of impermanence, suffering and non-selfness. All this has to be done after one has discerned nama rupa and understood that there is no self in this place or in this entire universe. So there has to be a very significant stage in between the Samadhi Jnana and the Dhammattiti Jnana. And that is the Nama Rupa Bhavattane Panya. Nama Rupa Bhavattana. Nama Rupa Bhavattane Panya. Commentary suggests that it should have come here. Obviously, even when I was first memorizing these 33 wisdoms, because in our monasteries, in most of our place, some of our monasteries, we do recite them every evening for chanting. So we had all them memorized, all these 73 wisdoms. It may take around maybe 10 to 15 minutes to recite it. If you recite very precisely, accurately, you can do it quite fast. If your memory is good, when I memorized this, I was really like I had a curiosity why the Nama Rupa Paricheda didn't come before the Dhammattiti Jnana. The commentary has given an explanation, so we shall see this now. A yogi who has attained the concentration mentioned under the Samadhi Bhavana Jnana exerts his effort to attain the Yatha Bhuta Jnana Darsana. Yatha Bhuta Jnana Darsana comprises many aspects. Sometimes in the very basic level, Yatha Bhuta Jnana Darsana involves Pacchaya Pariggaha Jnana together with the Nama Rupa Paricheda. So, Nama Rupa Paricheda and Pacchaya Pariggaha together are called Yatha Bhuta Jnana. Or any vipassana wisdom can be called Yatha Bhuta Jnana in some context, and even the Magga Jnana, the wisdom associated with the noble path, can also be called Yatha Bhuta Jnana based on the context. Now here we may feel like, I feel like, because this doesn't, I don't have this, we don't have a sub-commentary. It's mentioned that there was such a sub-commentary, but it doesn't exist at the moment to my knowledge. So one is going to, I feel like he's aiming, a person is aiming the Yatha Bhuta Jnana Darsana, that is the two paired wisdoms, Nama Rupa Paricheda and Pacchaya Pariggaha. Or maybe it could be all the Vipassana wisdoms, or even it could be the Magga Jnana, the final attainment. He first analyzes and determines the mind and matter. First he has to analyze mind and matter, Nama Rupa Vattana. And then afterwards he starts to analyze and determine the causes of the mind and matter that had already been discerned. First he had to separate mind and matter. Now Nama Rupa Vattana means he has come into a conclusion. He has determined what this is mind and matter, and there is no self. That is called Nama Rupa Vattana. For that, in order to reach Nama Rupa Vattana level, one has to understand Nama Rupa Paricheda. You have to separate mind and matter. Then when one keep on contemplating, Nama Rupa Pariggaha is observing and determining the mind, and Nama Rupa Pariggaha can be used as it can encapsulate all the wisdoms involved in Ditti Visuddhi. Is possible. Normally what we do is Nama Rupa Pariggaha is involving in this contemplation, and while you are doing that, Nama Rupa Paricheda Jnana would arise as seeing that there's only mind and matter exist. Mind and matter is there, no self. And after you keep on doing Nama Rupa Parigraha, afterwards you come into a stage where the person is confirmed, is sure that there's no self other than mind and matter. And then that has to be developed further by doing the contemplation, using sutras, knowledge in sutras, and also similes, and then entrench this wisdom and make it more stronger and stabilize it, and that's called the strong Nama Rupa Vattana. After you have reached that level, your Ditti Visuddhi is completed, then you are supposed to go to the next stage. So in the next stage, what he is doing is, now he has mind and matter, Nama Rupa, and of these Nama Rupas, how these Nama Rupas were produced, or how they came into existence. Were they created by an almighty God, or did they sprung into existence out of nothing, or is there a relevant cause for them? That's the next stage. Afterwards, he starts to analyze and determine the causes of the mind and matter that had already been discerned. While analyzing and determining the causes of those mentalities and matter, this Dhammattiti Jnana arises. Why is it that Dhammattiti Jnana is mentioned as the fourth wisdom without mentioning the Nama Rupa Vattana Jnana? It's an obvious question. That is because when it is said that one analyzes and determines the causes, it is understood that one has already completed the analysis and determination of the conditioned realities, that is Nama Rupa. Because now Dhammattiti Jnana shows the cause and the effect. Cause and the effect. So in order to know the cause, first he has to see the effect and find the cause of the effect. So without knowing the effect, discussion about the cause is irrelevant, right? One can argue, you can know the cause and then go to the effect, but obviously what happens is when one is observing, he sees the effect and he finds out what is the cause. So a simile that is given is when you see a baby lying on the road, helpless, then he finds the obvious question that arises, who is the father and mother? And when someone sees a sickness, a doctor sees a sickness, he finds out what is the cause for the sickness. So in the same way, the yogi understands there's mind and matter here, which is not a very pleasurable thing. Then he is trying to find out what is the causes of this mind and matter, right? So the commentary says that when this has happened, this has already accomplished. So that's what I translated, that it's understandable, because the next sentences following the commentary give this meaning that it is understandable that when Dhammattiti Jnana is said to be done, it is understandable that the Namarupa Paricheda Jnana is complete. It doesn't mean that, because when you read the commentary statement, if someone is reading, you may feel like the Namarupa Paricheda Jnana become accomplished by the Dhammattiti Jnana. No, that's not how it happens. It happens before the Dhammattiti Jnana. Yes, Namarupa Paricheda Jnana can be fortified, or it can get strengthened. It can get more stabilized by the Dhammattiti Jnana, but actually its completion happens before the Dhammattiti Jnana. So, and that is clear when you keep on reading the commentary sentences. So that's why I have translated it. It is understandable that when someone understands that someone is practicing Dhammattiti Jnana, that he has accomplished the Namarupa Paricheda Jnana. It is not possible to discern the causes without having discerned the results of those causes. So first you know the results and then find out the causes. Therefore, by mentioning Dhammattiti Jnana, the Namarupa Vattana Jnana, which is the cause of the former, is also implicitly mentioned. So therefore, this was the stance of the commentary. This is the stance that saying that Venerable Sariputta, who compiled this, or whoever who compiled this book, used the Dhammattiti Jnana at the fourth place, skipping the Namarupa Vattana, because saying one is discerning the causes, it implicitly says that he has known the effects first. So having known the effects, he is investigating the causes. Another question that arises is, why is it not mentioned as samadhitva pacce pariggahe panya, as in the case of second and third wisdom? Because if you remember, sutame jnanam sotavadhane panya sutame jnanam, that was about the wisdom gaining through the ear door. Then sutvana sangvare panya, having listened, having understood, he restrains. Then sangvaritva samadhane, having restrained, he practices concentration. So that's how the two wisdoms, 2 and 3, were explained. So why isn't that the Dhammattiti Jnana was not explained as the outcome of the third stage? Because now he has already concentrated, gained the concentration. The person would have easily preached, the Thera would have easily preached samadhitva pacce pariggahe panya Dhammattiti Jnana. So it would have done, he would have done so. Then why it is not mentioned as in the case of the second and third wisdom? This is because the reason given in the commentary is concentration and wisdom must be paired together in one's effort to attain the noble path. So while one is exerting effort to attain the noble path, concentration and wisdom should be paired together as Yuganadha. Yuganadha. We shall learn this term in the Patisambhida Magga at a later stage. Yuganadha, they should be combined together and they should be balanced. Their imbalance is a defect in meditation. Their imbalance is a defect, and it's considered as a defilement in meditation. It's not that the defilement is arising, but their imbalance would eventually lead to the defilements. So imbalance in mind, concentration and wisdom, as mentioned in the Visuddhi Magga, is a defiled state of the meditation. So they have to be maintained very to an equal level. But in Samatha meditation, In the beginning, concentration may be a bit higher than the wisdom. In the vipassana, while practicing inside, wisdom may go higher than the concentration, but while attaining the supramundane state, they have to be balanced very equally. These things are mentioned in Visuddhi Mantra. Anyway, therefore, concentration is necessary until the final goal. In order to emphasize that, the Jaran Samadhahitva was not mentioned in the fourth wisdom, because sometimes one may feel like, okay, Sila is required. Now someone has fulfilled the Sila and then he is developing Samadhi. Sila will be strengthened, but you don't need to it would act as a basis for your Samadhi. But Samadhi is not going to act as a basis for Vipassana. That's what the commentary is mentioning. Samadhi is involved in Vipassana. So you have to develop Samadhi together with Vipassana. It's not that you have completed your Samadhi and get into Vipassana. No. In Vipassana, meditation itself increases or elevates the level, quality of your Samadhi. So therefore, instead of using that gerund form which would signify, or which would give an impression that samadhi is complete and so we enter into the vipassana. Instead of that, samadhahitva was not used to show that samadhi has to be developed throughout the process. Even someone has attained the jhana, because vipassana needs its own samadhi and balancing the samadhi with the concentration, with the wisdom. Because sila you don't need to balance with anything. Sila would act as a basis in your spiritual progress. So therefore, it is not to show. I don't think it is not given that to show that dry vipassana is possible. I don't think in that way, because even in dry vipassana, you have to have some kind of a concentration, but one can argue that since samadhane panya was involved in tranquility meditation, so that's why it was not mentioned. Can be a logical argument in that sense, but the commentary explanation is it was not given because samadhi has to be paired with wisdom throughout the process till the final liberation. So these are the things whatever mentioned in the commentary regarding the introduction for this wisdom. So next week I'm going to talk another wisdom, which is called Atitanagata Pachuppanne Pachuppannanan Dhammana Sankipitva Avattane Panya Sammasane Jnana, which would be a very interesting topic related to Vipassana. So I took whole 1 hour, more than 50 minutes, more than anticipated. So I'll give you a few minutes to ask questions concluding this lecture. This is something arguable, because according to some teachers, like as it is followed in Mogok tradition in Myanmar, they believe that you can start vipassana from the sammasana jnana or the udyabbe jnana, because as you said, the knowledge and the faith would suffice to complete namarupavatthana and dhammatiti jnana. So even Paticca is just through the scripture understanding through the scriptural knowledge would be enough. But if you go to the Visuddhimagga and also what Theras like 𝐴 𝐷𝐚𝐿𝐼𝐴 has said, so we distinguish these two things. As it is taught in Abhidhamma, when one listens to the Dhamma and understands the Dhamma thoroughly and gets to know that, understand that there cannot be a self, logically there cannot be a self, and it is only Nama Rupa that is existing. Since then, even he is saying that I myself, I'm going to the shop and so forth, he is said to believe to be said after he has gained the faith in Buddha's teachings and understood that understood means starts to believe that there is no Nama and a slightly understanding based on logic. Then he would, even while he's saying terminology, using words related to the self or related to my still he's uttering it with the Ditti Vippayutta Chitta. But some teachers of the antiquity has said, even on such occasions, there's a subtle Ditti is possible to exist, and that Ditti has to be suppressed only through meditation, So by studying the scriptures, a certain Ditti is put down, and that's the gross Ditti of the Buddhist who has studied the Dhamma. But in order to suppress the subtle Ditti before proceeding to Dhammattiti Jnana, as 𝐴 𝐷𝐿𝐼𝐴 has said, you have to do meditation, and that Sanya and Chitta Vipallasas associating with as Paramattha Dipani says, associating with the subtle Ditti can only be put down by meditation of Nama Rupa Bhavattana. So the accepted norm, except the Mogok tradition, which is a very famous tradition in Myanmar, the accepted norm that we follow is that you have to have a specified meditation technique done in order to get rid of the self-view that would act as the basis for the Dhammattiti Jnana. Then Venerable Sariputta's Saddha involvement, like why it is not being mentioned. One thing is, this is a topic about Jnana Katha, so there is no place for Saddha to be explained, because he's just analyzing the 73 Jnanas, so all the other faculties such as Saddha, Virya, Satya, irrelevant here, because this is a very specific topic. And also Sutame Jnana and the remaining meditation subjects signifies that the person has Saddha, because according to Chanki Sutta, one would not gain deep knowledge by listening to the doctrine unless he has Saddha. So in the first place, he gets some basic understanding while observing the Buddha, while he's preaching, and then he starts to believe, yes, this doctrine seems to be very logical and the person seems to have understood it, otherwise he would not be able to preach such a thing, and this doctrine is leading to the cessation of defilements. And when he gains some seed of faith, and when he starts to germinate, he approaches, and so Saddha arises. Then Saddha Jata Upasankamita Pairupasi, because in order to gain a deep knowledge, one has to get involved in the subject and he should have some faith in it. Therefore, especially a subject like a spiritual subject, which is not very entertaining as in the case of other subject matters, if someone is thoroughly studying it, and that signifies, that clearly shows that the faith is there. That is simply saying that if you talk about a monk, does a monk has faith or not? Obviously, a significant level of faith is there, otherwise he would not remain as a monk. That's the important point, even though he's breaching certain rules. So in the same way, if someone has studied the scriptures, that signifies that he has put some effort, he has sacrificed his time, effort, and considered it is something worthy of studies, worthy of memorizing, and Saddha is very visible in the Sutame Jnana. And then when you apply it to the Silamaya, Samadhimaya, Panya, and so forth, it shows the increasing levels of Saddha. And together with it, we can see the Virya, Sati, and all these are increasing. So as this is a doctrine dedicated for the Jnana and the Patisambhida Jnana, so the list of wisdoms have been mentioned. So I don't think the Saddha had any place to occupy in this doctrine itself, especially in the Jnana Katha place. And yes, so Namarupa Bhavattana Jnana, as held by most of the teachers, including Venerable Lady Sayadaw, and also when you read the Visuddhimagga, study the Visuddhimagga, that would be the obvious impression that you get. That's why I'm just saying, because the Mogok Sayadaw there's a practice going on, and you cannot completely deny it, because various beings may start meditation in various levels. It can happen. Doctrine has many proof to show that how it would grow happen. So therefore, but if systematically going forward, one has to develop Namarupa Paricheda Jnana other than the scriptural knowledge about self. That's the held view by Abhidhamma teachers from the antiquity, saying that scriptural knowledge would put down very gross wrong view, and Namarupa Paricheda Jnana would suppress the subtle wrong view together with the Sanya and Chitta Vipallasa, and then he progressed to the Dhammakkiti Jnana.
Thank you very much. I think your explanation was excellent. Actually, the need for meditation really should have come even in the Samadhi jnana. Because you won't get to jhana level or even prasada level without some meditation. And therefore, meditation already has become a part of the practice. By the time we talk about this jnana, that's the last comment I would like to make. And thank you very much.
But in that case, we were talking two different subjects, right? That was the samatha, and this is the vipassana meditation. Huh?
Yes. Samatha is the beginning and the start.
Yeah, Namaruvatthana is the vipassana part. So that the question was like,
Yes.
yeah.
So that's the problem with absence from there. I would like to correct it more towards vipassana.
Right. Okay. I think no more questions, and the time is also up. So I hope you enjoyed the lecture. And next week we are going to talk about another wisdom, Sammasana, which would be a very interesting one. Hope to see you next week. May all of your sublime wishes be fulfilled by this merit of discussing Dhamma and studying Dhamma. Buddha Sasanam Chirantikkatu, Buddha Sasanam Chirantikkatu, Buddha Sasanam